A huge shout out to this week's sponsors, Reps, Carter County Extracts, and the Outrun Snack Bar. Find out more about these fine companies on Instagram.
Welcome to On the Moon. Join your hosts, Nate Brothers and Chris Nielsen. With each new episode, they dive deep into the creative minds behind the music you love. On the Moon brings you exclusive conversations with rising artists, where they share their stories, songwriting process, and what fuels their passion. This week's special guest is J.R. Adams. Be sure to stick around for his encore performance of I Was Looking at You. And now from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, join Nate and Nielsen on the Moon, where music and meaning meet.
Hey, welcome back to On the Moon. I'm your host, Nate Brothers, with my co-host, Chris Nielsen.
Hey, hey.
What's up, brother? How's things going?
It's going good. Rocking and rolling, baby.
Well, we got snow in Steamboat. That's a real thing. It is officially that time of year.
Mm-hmm.
Time to hang out more inside, do more recording. And
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the winter, man. We got Music Fest coming up, a bunch of good stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be something.
Yeah, and today we are very blessed to have local legend J.R. Adams with us.
Yeah, my man.
Yep, he not only shares his...
My denim man. I call him the denim man.
He shares his beautiful acoustic song, I Was Looking at You. And
I was looking at you.
And shares...
My impression.
It shares a little bit behind the scenes of how that song came about. And, and it's about his wife. Spoiler alert. So super cool.
Yeah.
JR's one of those guys. I've been watching play here in Steamboat for years.
Yeah, man.
He shared with me.
His first show.
Yeah, we were at his first show.
There.
Like both Nielsen and I were working at Carl's back in the day when Carl's was here. And apparently this was your State Bird's first show.
Yeah.
And so he remembered us from the first show, which was
How crazy was that?
Kind of wild to
reconnect. How long ago was that now?
Well, that had to be in 2011, 2012, something like that. So yeah, I mean, over 10 years ago, and it just kind of shows you just how deep those roots go here in the Steamboat community.
Yeah, what a local talent this guy.
And I just kind of wanted to take a moment to give a little shout out to some of the local venues and some of the places that are really harboring artists like this.
Edit the Press. We've seen JR. We've seen quite a few good shows over there.
Yeah, no, we went down and watched JR and Friends here a few weeks back, and it was unbelievable. And if you haven't caught your State Birds, like, they're so good. Which I kind of feel like Steamboat is, there's a renaissance going on right now, and due to places like Schmiggety's.
Yeah, so is Schmiggety's.
Old Town.
Yep, Old Town Pub for sure.
And at one point, I think you were lucky if you saw, a little jam band music or a little bit of, I guess, bluegrass in town.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But now it just feels like everywhere you look, there's phenomenal artists. So
the talent that comes through here is amazing.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's a big part of why we started On the Moon.
And and the talent that decides to stay here and live here, it's just crazy.
I've been
corner slice kids, right? I mean, come on.
Been incredibly blessed by these folks.
Oh God, corner slice is pumping out some of the best musicians I've ever hung out with. It's crazy.
So, what night is their open mic?
Tuesday at the Corner Slice.
Cool.
And then they do a deal on their Heroes, which is a sandwich for some people that didn't know.
Just so you know, not a sponsor. We're just big fans. And very thankful.
But they sell, meatball heroes and sausage heroes and big giant sandwiches. And on Tuesday, it's like $12 for a hero, chips, a beer.
That's cool.
And it's open mic, so.
And so many of the artists that you've seen here.
Cheese Slice, Fancy Pants, Sammy Sam, Weedman, Jordan Harms. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
Who else come out of there? I think is that 4?
Yeah. Oh, it's
and I have numbers of all the other ones that are coming on that
yes
we're not talking about yet. But
yes, we haven't run the cheese, or we haven't recorded Slice Dry at all yet.
That well has not run dry.
So thank you to Brandon and everybody who's down there.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
It's been really cool. It's been really cool. And just with us, we've got several things going on. We've got some new swag out. Nielsen's wearing a hooded sweatshirt. There's a hat here on the table. If you guys are looking to represent the Moon Mountain brand, you could find our links on our Instagram profile. And yeah, man. Anything else that you want to share with the audience before we get into JR tonight?
That I'm always open to get with creative people. Let's go. Let's bring anybody here. Come on, let's do this. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
This channel is all about collaboration.
I'm like inspired by meeting these people and watching them play. Maybe jamming with some of them, and man, I've learned a lot.
Man,
I've learned a lot.
Me too.
Wow.
It's been a humbling experience.
Absolutely.
Just to meet so much talent. And with that being said, I've been a fan of JR for years, and just have really connected with him over this last few months through what we're doing here.
I mean, what a great song, man. That guy is, man, he's like Bob Dylan, but better. I'm telling you.
I compared him to Tom Petty in the interview, and I kind of think he's got some of those vibes too.
So like a mix of Petty, Dylan, denim guy. Love this guy.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for being here with us tonight. And without further ado, we'll get to JR Adams' interview.
Yep.
And you could find him at JR Adams Music on Instagram. And be sure to follow and subscribe and like us and support
Check us out on YouTube,
YouTube
Music app. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, guys, for being here. And JR coming right up.
Thank you.
Cheers. Welcome back to On the Moon. We've got an amazing guest tonight. Mr. JR Adams is in the house. How you doing, JR?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
You were one of the first artists to perform with us. Like 10 weeks ago now. We're starting to get things rolling.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. We wanted to do this interview back then, but this gives us a chance to catch up and find out what's been going on. Since you recorded with us. And if you haven't seen JR's video, it is I Was Looking at You, and love the song, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the song, I guess. That's a good place to start. Is this something that you recorded recently?
This one actually has not been recorded yet. So,
cool.
I did do some recording recently. I did like 4 or 5 songs that, that are fairly newish that haven't been recorded yet. And but this one was kind of like, I want to get to it, but I haven't got to it yet. So it's still in record. That's the first recording of it is coming in here. And I hadn't even really played it out that much. So it's like, it's a fairly fresh song. Basically what it's about is it's kind of about the journey of like, finding love, I guess, basically is what it is. And, my experience, but also looking at other people's experiences as well, and it's kind of about like kind of the opening is about people that are trying so hard to find love that they're like forcing it or something, instead of like letting it happen like naturally.
So do you feel like that was the camp you were in?
I think it probably was. I think there were some instances where maybe maybe I was like trying to force something that wasn't real or wasn't right or something like that. But and it's kind of, I was looking at you as kind of the line where it was like, I had met my wife, but like, for the first time.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2020 is when we met.
Oh, cool.
So we met in 2020, and that was kind of like, it's kind of like your that whole song.
Quarantine together kind of situation.
Basically what happened. Yeah, she kind of, she moved into this. she moved into a house with like the only people that were like part of my kind of like quarantine group, like just a few people, the only people I was really hanging out with. She just happened to move into that house like right before kind of COVID hit. And so yeah, we spent a lot of time that summer camping and stuff like that. And that's kind of how like we got to know each other. But yeah, that was kind of like, it was just that instantaneous, like, that the line is, when you see it, I was looking at you. That was, that was about meeting her basically. But kind of the rest of it is about the journey up until then, and other people's, looking at other people's relationships and sometimes how that all works out. But it was one of those songs that it came out really quickly, and it just kind of wrote itself, so
yeah, man, it's got some real like Tom Petty vibes. That it's just good to hear some like rock and roll roots.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's kind of your brand here in town. Yeah. You play a lot of rock and roll. So tell me a little bit about like the gigs and the people you're playing with right now.
Yeah.
And do you have a band that you play with a lot in town, or how's that all work?
So, right now what I would say is I'm, there's kind of the J.R. Adams band, which is kind of like probably what I'm playing about the most right now. The other is a Grateful Dead cover band called Heads All Empty, which is, a different thing entirely. But yeah, I play with a certain group of people that, in Steamboat, it's one of those things you probably notice when you're out. It's kind of like this, it's a small community of musicians, but it's very stellar. There's a lot of good people to play with. And, and I play with a lot of those same guys a lot, like, around town. And so, it's kind of built to be like, I'll get a gig a couple months out, and then I start reaching out to like my guys that I really love playing with, and and putting a band together. And that used to really stress me out. Like, oh my God, like, we haven't played together a lot. And like now, if you've been playing with the same people a while and they're good musicians, then you kind of get up there and just like see what happens. And that's a really cool thing. You guys are
better than see what happens. I've seen this several times, and no, you guys are really tight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
impressive to me that like, because I know like that's not a thing that you probably practice a lot. Mm-hmm. It's more of you show up to the gigs, and that's kind of where that whole thing happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that was, for me, for a while, that was, I think, like a struggle. It was like I wanted to have that like control of like being really well rehearsed, and like, I wanted to hit those like spots, and I still do have that desire. But there is this other element when you get with musicians that are like, that are really good, and not rehearsing a ton leaves this kind of space for anything could happen. And that's when anything that happened turns good, and that thing that happens is good, then it's really fun.
Yeah, totally.
And, if it's not, then it's really not fun. If you're out there kind of struggling, which can happen from time to time, where you're kind of struggling to find the groove. But
so I know you're a young man relatively. Where did the Grateful Dead vibes come from?
Right, yeah.
Like, I mean, Jerry died when I was in high school.
Right,
I know I'm a lot older than you.
Yeah,
so.
I was 11 when Jerry died.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
It was like I had a friend that his parents were had a CD of the Grateful Dead, and I was kind of like, I was getting into classic rock, but I hadn't really fully dove in. Like, I was starting to get into I was kind of strumming some stuff on the guitar and trying to figure it out. I really liked the Beatles when I was 15 or so. And then the Dead kind of floated in. They were your first two. Yeah.
The Dead never really happened for me. I don't know. I a few covers, but I mean, y'all know note for note, and that's a band too. Yeah, it's a big discography. It's a lot of technique also. Yeah, even though it's all major scales, and it's there's still there's some real talent that it takes. It's not just overnight kind of learn.
No, it's not. No, and I think that's the thing is it had been seeping in since I was probably 17, and then I wouldn't say. a serious Deadhead then, because I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, I like the Grateful Dead, sure. But then like honestly, over time, I just became. I think the Dead is one of those bands that can grow on you because there's so much of it. Like there's so much. You're like you said, discography, but also every concert is different, sure. And that's why people get addicted. It's because like there's just so much to ingest. Like you haven't heard it all. Like no one's heard it all. Like maybe a few guys, but that's like
Isn't Jerry like a great banjo player too?
He's a great banjo player.
Odd things.
His pedal
that you don't
steel guitar. He's a great pedal steel and
wild.
But yeah, I mean, it is like to me, it's been such a great musical exercise where, especially like guitar playing wise, I think for a long time the guitar was like a vehicle for me to like write songs and like write riffs to those songs, you know, cool. and so that's kind of what the guitar was for a while for me. And now it's become, kind of as I've gotten older and, is like more of like, it's a vehicle to take me like longer on stage. Like I can get on stage and play the guitar for longer periods without just hitting the same riff, and improvise. And I think that being in that Dead band has been kind of like a great exercise. And now when I'm like, when I sit down on the guitar, I'm a lot more fluid, and it has helped on songwriting too. It's like, because I know if I hear something in my head, I can get to it quicker.
I bet.
So
are you a theory guy in general? Like
no,
okay,
I'm not a theory guy.
From
it's
the amalgamation of your brain and the Grateful Dead. Like kind of is a theory-based learning exercise anyway.
I'm horrible at theory. I people start talking theory around me and I'm just like, oh my God. Like I'm just, I think, because when I started, it was like, I was just like self-taught in my room and trying to learn songs. And I think I just like didn't, I think people that find those guitar teachers that they like really like, I think that's like great. I wish I would have, maybe had that early on, but I think I went and maybe like tried a couple people with like lessons, but it just didn't like click for me or wasn't in the right space. It wasn't what I was trying to do. I just wanted to like, strum chords and
head hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's one thing to be learning theory on a piano.
Yeah.
It's a visual exercise.
Yeah, right.
It works, but there's a lot of math and just memorizing things.
Yeah.
And I know for me, like, especially with songwriting too, I'll be like, I just can't find that chord. And my girlfriend, who's classically trained in theory, has taught theory for years, she's like, it's a B minor, or whatever from the other room.
From the other room, she can hear
Jesus, hit that note. Like, I know exactly what it is. So, so I'm like super jealous of people like that have the actual scientific knowledge behind the ear too.
I know. I am too. It's been that kind of journey, and I feel like, even I think the last few years, honestly, when COVID hit, it like made me fall back in love with like getting better at guitar. Like I think I was like stuck for a long time in kind of what I was doing, which what I was doing was fine, but because it was achieving what I wanted to. It was like, when I was playing with Your State Birds, like the rock band that I'm in a lot, it was kind of like, we were, I would write a song and then I would come up with the riffs and then we would play that in front of the crowd. And then I got this time where I was like, I was able to like just sit down with the guitar a lot, and play for hours again, which I hadn't done in a long time, where I was like, and now, and that's kind of carried over. And now it's like, kind of my practice, just hours have just gone up like a lot, just cause I'm enjoying it more, and it's compounding. And I think that's being in that Dead band is one of those things where it's like, we've got a show coming up. I have to, like, if I don't learn this, I'm going to look like an idiot up there. And a lot of that stuff is pretty complex for me, from kind of where I started and what, like, guitar and what I do now. So it's been a great exercise, and it just, tackling something like that has just been, it's been really cool, and it's just so much fun,
Yeah, so when you're spending time with the guitar in that introverted space that's very creative, are you, is it mostly learning stuff, or how much of it's split into writing, and how much of it's split, acoustic electric too? I'm always kind of drawn one or the other way in my own life. And,
I, as far as like songwriting goes, I typically don't sit down and like set out to say like I want to sit down and write a song. Like usually that's not what's going to happen for me. It's one of those things where I'll be like, I'll go out on the back porch and I'll have my guitar or something and I'll just like be fiddling around and then it just will happen.
Struck by a melody.
Yeah, exactly. And
so you're more of a melody guy to start.
I'm a melody guy to start always. Yeah. Sure. Mm-hmm. Every now and then I'll have like this. There are these songs that I've had floating around in my head where it's just like one line of a song. Mm-hmm. And so I'll just have like a line and I'll just kind of repeat that over and over. And eventually a lot of times like I'll sit down with the guitar, it doesn't work, and then eventually I'll come back and it'll finally happen. So sometimes there are just like lyrics that kind of, but they always have a melody with it, always. I'm always like saying it with a melody. So it's always melody first. And then, I'm not one of these guys who's like, I'm not typically very forceful on like, if there's an idea that pops up and it's not really flowing, I'm not one of these guys that tries to like really get it out if it's not natural. Typically if, a lot of, there are times where I'll get like a few lines and the melody down and I'll stop and it'll come back eventually. But most of the time it's like, it's coming and I've got to get it all out. Nice. I'll try in it because I feel it, and then I'll try to get it all out. Do you have a small
recorder or something like that, or you?
I'll record on my phone these days.
Okay, cool.
Back when I first started writing, I wasn't doing that. And honestly, I've lost a lot of songs that way because I just like, it was funny. I have this book that I had from. It was like the first show that I ever played when I was 19 in college, and basically what happened was I played this open mic, and the owner of the venue liked what I did, and he's like, "Can you come play next Saturday and like do a full set?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yeah! Like, thanks so much. Like, how long do you want me to play?" And he's like, "We were thinking like 2.5 hours." I was like, "Oh my God, yeah!" I was like, "Oh my God,
yeah, seriously."
So I like, this book is kind of me like. Okay, like I've got all these songs, but some of them like aren't completely finished, and I had to like go through and like finish these songs and make the set list, and I also had to learn a bunch of new songs and stuff like that. But I was like looking through it, and like on the set list though, there's like some of these songs that are original songs, and I'm like, I don't know what those songs are anymore. And I was like, dang, that's kind of a bummer because like I should have just like recorded them at some point, back then. But I just, I thought they'd always be there.
Writing words down, but not writing chords down.
Okay.
And so, you come back like 2 years later, it's like, dang, I really like that song. And
it's gone.
It's gone, man. It's so gone.
Yeah. You got to be diligent about, recording. And I'm still bad. I'm still bad about it. Mm-hmm. But my wife's always like, you gotta record that one because it'll go. You'll forget it. I know you'll forget it.
She's like, got you pegged already. She's like, I know you do. Great.
You'll forget it.
That's great. How's the process for you with collaboration? Do you write with John and some other partners in like Your State Birds or any other places?
Typically with like I'm not the best collaborator in songwriting. Okay. I'm like very like.
Does it play well with others?
No, it does not. Yeah, it's very like I have like a pretty clear vision, but when those guys have been there long enough, it's not like I'm telling them exactly what to play. I might have like a riff in my head that it's not guitar, so those guys will take it over. But all those guys are like really good, and I don't really have to tell them what to play anymore. They're usually like pretty on it. So it's not like cool. I'm like,
very intuitive.
They're very intuitive. I don't need to like sit there and be like, you need to play this exactly. You need to play this. And, those guys are just like, and now, we've been playing like, 10 years together, which is kind of crazy to think about. But, now it's like we went down, those guys came, Jeff and, the bass player Jeff and John came down, and we recorded some of those songs I was talking about. And I mean, we just blew through it. Those guys just like played really pretty stuff right off the bat, and I didn't have to say play it this way or that way. It was really cool.
It's fun.
But they don't need much direction these days. But as far as just like this, I mean, like hashing out or writing songs. It's a very private thing for me. It's like, and before I bring it, it's like, if I bring it, then it's like, I pretty much know, kind of completely what it sounds like in my head. Yeah, and, exactly.
You started to put a track down.
Yeah, exactly. And usually it only takes like a few strums, and then those guys just kind of follow along, and they know what they're doing. So,
well, you're kind of the one of the people I would point to who's kind of an OG performer here in Steamboat.
Mm-hmm.
I think you probably have a really unique perspective because you've seen lots of venues change and lots of growth in the town, and gigging for a long time, man. I mean, I'm just talk about that a little bit.
It's I think there's like it's good and bad kind of as like a kind of what I do kind of over the years has kind of morphed, and like being a singer-songwriter and bringing your own songs can be a daunting thing in like in a ski town where people are here to like party, and it's just like
it's a tourist element.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, and that's why I was really so excited to come in here and play that song, because like I don't that's not really a song that I necessarily like play out in Steamboat a lot. It's just like you can find those moments, like there's times at the Press where I'll play like a solo show and it's kind of like a little quieter evening, but there's like a decent amount of people, and you can kind of catch them like off the bat, and like also like they're kind of into it, and you're like, okay, I've got this crowd, and I'm gonna play these songs where I haven't really played them in a while, and they're quieter, but they're they mean more than just kind of running through those covers and stuff like that, because there's a place for that, and I've learned to be okay with doing that stuff because that's a lot of I'm out there trying to play happy hours, make people happy, and put money in the tip jar and that kind of stuff. So I will play I'll draw the line. I still only play songs that I like. I'm not going to play songs that I'm not going to just play. I'm not going to play Sweet Caroline.
I know you got some Jimmy Buffett in the bag, dog.
I play one Jimmy Buffett song, and I happen to like it. But that's about
hilarious.
it. Yeah. But I don't want to lose that completely. I don't want to just be like the play the hits guy because everyone wants to hear it. So typically, I try to keep hammering away at what I really like doing, and that way it'll be and it has been really fun, like lately. I didn't know, like I think when I think about it now, it's like 10 years from when I was like you still going to be like really having fun doing this, playing happy hours and stuff, and I am. So
that's it's a great question to ask and answer, and I think there is a little bit of a fear just in general of, am I still going to be happy in a ski town 10 years from now?
Yeah.
Because people like come and go so much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And man, it's not an easy gig to be the tourist performer.
Right. Yeah.
But I will say, shout out Ed down at the Press.
Without
some
a doubt.
of these small venues that have phenomenal sound and great lighting and are real intimate experience. That's been a big change in this town. And providing spaces that you're not on. I don't know, the concrete deck of Timber and Torch or whatever in the sunshine. We need spaces like that, I think, for songs like yours to be properly experienced.
And that's the thing, and sometimes it is like that, and sometimes you're playing and then you've got it gets crowded and then people are just getting loud and you're playing, you're the background, and that happens sometimes, and I think that used to be harder for me to accept, and now I kind of realize it's not a reflection of necessarily what you're doing up there. It's just it's the situation that has happened, and you just so you kind of I've been able to adjust more and be okay with those situations for the fact that I know that eventually there will be those times that come around where it's really good and I can play these songs, and kind of like try new stuff and like, you know.
I will say that the tourist gig is a very rewarding thing to do at times too. Not maybe necessarily financially always, but I mean, you get some of the nicest compliments and stuff from just people who are here in town for 2 days and like have the time of their lives. Like, way more love than we often get from people who actually love us here in this town, you know? So
I mean, I'm not like bad talking that because we get up and that's like
experience all the way together. Like
it is, and people are just so nice when we're, you know, when you get off stage and you've just, you know, you're having fun, the crowd's having fun, and they just want to come up and just like, tell you how appreciative they are, and like it's just it's so nice. Like, and I do know how lucky I am to be able to get up and play music on stage, and people are there and having a good time. That's like, that's great. It's just nothing what else to say it.
Community of experiences to have with those performers too. I mean, I don't think Steamboat's gotten too cool yet for, I don't know, like the experience to say go to the Aspen at Belly Up, which I love. You know, it's a small, intimate venue, but it's a legitimate like artist venue where you're not going to hang out with the performers.
Right.
They're not going to roll out front and break that wall and sit down and have a beer with you. And I don't think there's any place in Steamboat that isn't open enough to meet whoever's playing.
And
have a connection with them at the events, you know. So no, we're really lucky in that way.
We've got this great, you know, we've got these little venues that, you know, that I've been playing for years, and I get excited to do it every time. You know, I just and more so as I get older, I'm just like, I just love it, you know, and like you know, the vibes are typically just really great, and every time the weekend's coming around, I'm like, oh sweet, I got a show this weekend.
So you're a lifer.
Man, I'm addicted. For sure.
Well, I hope you never cut the beard. I want to see like Kenny Loggins or Chris Christopherson version of you in 20 years. You know,
I will not cut the beard.
Still going after it.
I will not cut the beard.
Killer, man. And damn, rest in peace, Chris Christopherson.
Like, for sure.
That one hit me hard.
Just great songs. Great songs.
Amazing songwriter. And just such an influential person, I think, beyond music, you know. But we've lost a lot of really good ones the last couple of years. Jimmy Buffett too. Like, it just kind of become a list.
I mean, I think we're getting to that point now where it's like all those like legends of the 60s, 70s. They're getting to that age, you know, and that's my favorite music, you know. That's just, you know, so
I know a lot of these old salts around here that are in their 70s, and I you know, I'm very thankful to spend time with them. Because if there's something to be said here in the West and ski towns in general, people tend to live kind of hard lives. And, so
without a doubt.
Man, and that generation, God, I mean, I grew up listening to so many of those artists on vinyl, and just had such a different music experience with those artists. And they're all really like special to my own heart. Who are some of the influences that really, you know, brought you to where you're at?
So I mean, I would say, you know, we already talked about the Beatles. I think that was like my first, actually like right before that. I'm a big Skynyrd fan. I still love Skynyrd to this day. I think they write great songs and just like a great guitar rock band.
So on brand, Mr. Rock and Roll. I love it.
And then I love, you know, Bob Seger is one of my all-time favorites. I think that guy he's a great lyricist. You never know, you never have to wonder like what he's singing about. But it's always just like super real.
Sure.
And I think that, you know, my own songwriting, I'm kind of that same way. I'm not like everything's either been experienced or like you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I wish I could be the other kind of songwriter sometimes too and just make up these grand stories, but I'm not. But I think listening to Bob Seger a lot of times, I'm like, I get where he's coming from, and it's simple, it's simplistic, but it's like it's very meaningful. Some of the newer, I guess maybe not that new, but you know, when I was in college, Wilco was like a big one for me. I love Wilco.
Yeah, cool. I can see that.
Jeff Tweedy's a big influence.
Yeah.
And, these days, some of the newer artists, or like this girl, Madison Cunningham. I don't know if you ever listened to her. Check her out.
Make a note on
incredible,
that one, yeah.
incredible guitar player, and but like effortless. She's not like a crazy shredder, but she just like is an incredible guitar player, songwriter. Sam Fender's another one. He's a pretty young guy that's really good that I really like. But yeah, there's some good new stuff out there too.
Sure.
And but yeah, those are some of the big highlights. Allman Brothers. I love a lot of old Motown stuff too, and soul and Otis Redding and stuff like that. And I guess like a fairly wide range, but
sure. No, I appreciate that.
But yeah, Tom Petty as well, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I
big Tom Petty
definitely catch a lot of this in your music.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're kind of one of those characters in town that I've just recently, become acquainted with, even though I've been watching you play for years.
Yeah, so I know. We had that talk about how you bartended this. You're at Carl's the night of our very first show, Your State Birds. That was the first time I played on stage in Steamboat, I think, besides like open mics.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah, and that was like it was like a vivid memory of just being like, oh my God, like we're a band. We're like, these people like us. It's awesome.
And I mean, it was a great show.
Yeah,
too.
It was fun. It was raucous.
Yeah, Carl's Tavern was a local venue for, several years. A lot of my best friends in the world, I originally worked there with. And, and just for being a place that wasn't a real venue, God, we had a lot of music come through there. So it was kind of a cool scene for a few years.
I remember seeing music like before I moved here. I remember like going down there for like, it was like happy hour, but it was like kind of like a rowdy happy hour, and like there's some music going, and I was like, yeah, I like this town. I was like, I could move here.
Where did you originally grow up then?
I'm from Georgia originally.
Okay.
And I moved out here in 2013. So
nice.
Like 11 years now. So
yeah, there seems to be a contingency of Georgia folk around here.
There is, yeah.
It's, at least Atlanta.
Yeah.
Hot Atlanta.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, a lot of, kind of like, a long line of people that were like, yeah, you should come out here, and then like another Atlanta guy, and then they just, that's kind of how it worked. But
I lived in Savannah for about a year.
Oh, nice.
When I was in my early 20s, and I was blown away with the music scene in the South. Like, It is, it's a totally different, like, trance blues and, like, hot, sweaty bars that are just, like, some real vibes going on.
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
Like, did you grow up with some musical influences from the Atlanta area, too?
Yeah, it was kind of like, I kind of lived pretty far out, so there wasn't, there wasn't necessarily, I kind of had to search out for it. Like, I kind of had to, like, there was kind of this, like, kind of Atlanta jam, or like kind of like jazzy thing going on with like some of the dudes that were in Derek Truck's band. And there's a group called the Ivan Neville Band. And there's kind of all these kind of guys that we used to kind of, as like a senior in high school, we would like drive down to Atlanta and try to like seek out these guys. Cause like we were a fan of Derek Truck's, and a lot of the people that he played with were like from Atlanta and stuff like that. So like, he would be like sitting in with like, some of the dudes in his band that were playing like a small show, and we'd kind of like find that stuff. Kind of like, jazz and soul. And we would kind of try to seek that out. Up where I live, there wasn't really much going on as far as that goes. I remember there was like this one little coffee shop that had like some live music and some open mics and stuff like that. But I was like too shy to go out and do it at that point. In high school, I wasn't quite ready for it. I had to wait to college before I...
So with that in mind, do you guys have some shows coming up here in the boat or in the state?
Yeah.
What's going on with you personally and then the band you're in?
I don't really have anything in November,
Gotcha.
But December kind of picks back up, and I'll be around town playing a decent amount, I'd say. Yeah. So,
Nice, man.
Yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. And yeah, like I said, I've got some recordings I've been working on recently. So hopefully here in the next, maybe year, get those going out and finished and everything. So.
Are you recording those here in town, or?
I'm actually recording in Fort Collins.
Okay.
Stout Studios
Nice.
in Fort Collins,
Nice.
which is a great
It's a
little
beautiful
spot.
place. Yep.
Yeah. So I've been recording down there, and and there's some people down there I like playing with, and bringing some guys from up here too, and so that should be coming out. Like I said, hopefully within the year or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very cool, man.
Yeah.
And where can we find you out there in the world?
Yeah.
Your handles on Insta. And
J.R. Adams Music is on Instagram, and then, J.R. Adams, my first album, it's called While We've Got the Time. That's on Spotify and iTunes and YouTube, and anywhere you can find it. And there's a Your State Birds album on there as well on Spotify and iTunes.
Cool.
So it's all out there.
Well, that's fantastic, and all of JR and Your State Birds music and everything you've done, dude, I'm a big fan of.
I appreciate it.
Get out there and check that out, and also check out. I was looking at you on our station, and hang out for a little bit longer, and we'll have an encore performance of that. But just to kind of wrap things up, man, I've been asking all the performers who come on, just one piece of advice generally you would give to singer-songwriters in 2024.
Okay. Yeah.
And it could be anything. Like what my ultimate goal is to circle back and kind of make a big content dump of all of the advice and do a show about that at some point. So, yeah, man, what you got for us?
I think what I would say is, when you're writing a song, try to be the most true to what you want to hear, what you think sounds good. I think there's, when you start writing something, you might be like, well, maybe, I don't know, is like a huge crowd going to like this or whatever, just try to focus on what you want to hear and what you think will sound good. That's kind of like the best advice I can give is just be true to the song and to yourself. Like what's that song supposed to sound like in your head, and just, hammer away at it and keep at it. That's all.
Sweet. I love that. I often, try and start out when I'm writing a song with an audience in mind or with a genre in mind, or put some kind of box on what the song is instead of just go with the flow sometimes. I think that's really good advice.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely have to fight, like a lot of times you have to fight that urge, right? And for me, a lot of times I'll just be like, am I overthinking it? And if I'm, try to shut that off. Just like the best is when you just kind of like let it flow, and you're not trying to follow some kind of structure, like, anything. It just comes, So try not to try not to overthink it or what other people want to hear. Just like, just because all those artists that wrote the great songs, they were just that was just from the soul. That's just, they weren't trying to please anyone. So that's what I would say.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for being here, dude.
Yeah,
and thank you
so
for playing on the station and just everything, man. And I look forward to getting to know you much better over the next few years too.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I can't wait to get back in here.
Yeah, sure. Hell yeah. Well, this has been J.R. Adams. Stick around for his encore performance of I Was Looking at You. Thanks so much for being here. And now, the encore performance of J.R. Adams, I Was Looking at You.
I know folks got their reasons for the treasons against their own hearts. They're just trying to make it, trying to scrape it, might be trying too hard. But I don't think it's some big mystery, no. It's easy to spot in a room, think you know it, when you see it. I was looking at you. I know I'd much rather walk alone, be left holding the phone, questioning my existence, and persisting on insisting that it's all about some ring of gold. You don't need to look back through history, no. You don't need science to prove. Think you know it when you see it. I was looking at you. Every true love's heart's bound to break once in a while. But every true lover's heart catches a break if you keep putting in the miles. Yeah, if you're putting in the miles. Look back in misery, no. The broken hearts in your wake, bound to make a few rivalries, be some casualties. You got some at stake, but I think the clouds will be lifting soon. For them, for me, and for you. Think they'll know it when they see it. I was looking at you. Think you'll know it when you see it. I was looking at you.
Hey, thanks so much for being here tonight. Be sure to join us next Thursday night for new content. And if you would like to reach out to us to either be a performer or talk about sponsorships, we would love to hear from you. Please do so through Instagram @MoonMTMedia or here on YouTube @MoonMTMedia. See you next week.